Today's movie is titled Landmine Goes Click, released in 2015. The movie begins with a guy taking a picture of three people by the countryside. Just before taking the picture, the man realizes there's something odd underneath the feet of one of them. Alicia, the girl, thinks the man needs help with the camera, but he shouts loudly at her not to move. Daniel looks down and sees that Chris is standing on something. He quickly gets down and removes some of the grass from around Chris's feet. When he does so, they all realize Chris is actually standing on a very dangerous landmine. Alicia immediately starts to cry and can't believe what is happening. Seeing how risky it is to stay there, the photographer runs away down the hill to save himself. Chris is clearly worried and tries to stay immobile. Alicia and Daniel go to the top of a hill close by, where they can get a signal. They make a call and plead for help. However, just before getting back to where Chris is, Daniel strangely shows an angry expression on his face. Minutes later, Daniels discloses to Chris that it was him who placed the mine there. Chris is visibly confused, and when Alicia comes down to join them, Daniel reveals that he knows that they both slept together. Chris is supposedly his best friend, while Alicia is engaged to Daniel. Daniel shows signs of rage and can't believe that they would go behind his back and betray him like this. As a way to take revenge on both of them, he came up with a plan and lured Chris and Alicia there. Alicia begs for his forgiveness, but Daniel tells her it is too late for that. He completely ignores her attempts to explain herself and walks towards a tree. Daniel picks up a spade and tells them that after Chris dies, his plan is to bury him in the forest. Chris begins to wonder if the mine is fake, since Daniel was standing right next to him earlier, when they were about to take the photo. Daniel then removes the safety cable, showing them that the mine is as real as it gets. If Chris stepped off the mine now, he would be blown to pieces. Alicia grabs Daniel, hugs him and tries to talk some sense into him. However, he won't listen to her and gets furious. Daniel says he thought he could trust them and wanted to spend his entire life with Alicia by his side. He then throws the safety cable away and walks off. Later, we see Daniel meeting up with the photographer who was supposed to take the picture of them. It turns out he organized and planned everything with him so that Chris would stand in that exact position. Alicia stays by Chris's side and manages to find the safety cable. She takes it to the mine and tries her best to put it back into it. Despite her efforts, she is unsuccessful. Alicia then decides to pick up the spade and starts digging a hole. In the meantime, a hunter walking around that area with his dog sees them and approaches the couple to find out what's going on. Alicia tries her best to keep the dog away from Chris, but the hunter points his gun at him and orders Chris to turn around. When he tells him that he can't, the hunter shoots very close to his feet in the landmine. Finally, after some desperate yelling from the couple, the hunter seems to believe them and goes take a closer look at the mine. Surprisingly, the hunter picks up a rock and throws it towards Chris's feet. Both Chris and Alicia get angry but don't really know how to react. He tells them he just wanted to make sure that they were telling the truth. The hunter claims to live around the area and tells them he was never aware of mines there. He then asks them what happened and how did they manage to get themselves in such a bad situation. He adds that if they lie, he won't help them. Alicia tells him what happened and the hunter tells them he will help on one condition. He obviously knows they are in a vulnerable position and tries taking advantage of it. The hunter tells them that he wants the clothes that Alicia is wearing and grabs her. Chris tries negotiating, saying they can give him some money instead, but the man is not interested. After begging and being denied, Alicia has no choice but to do what the man asks. The hunter then starts helping them, and all of a sudden, the radio in his bag goes off. Alicia hears it and runs over to it, asking if she could borrow it to ask for help. Once again, the hunter takes advantage of his position and tells her that she can, but it comes with a price. He then throws the scarf Alicia gave him on the floor, and tells her to crawl and get it. Alicia gets angry and just picks it up, but the man says she needs to crawl and then pick it up. Eventually, the evil man makes her crawl and pick it up with her mouth. The hunter finally hands over the radio, but to Alicia's distress, whoever's on the other side does not speak English. Given her level of despair, she has no choice but to ask for his help one more time. The hunter tells her he can translate for her based on one condition: she has to start removing additional items of her clothing. Initially, Alicia says no, but she soon realizes that it's their only chance of getting out of the situation. She starts doing as he asks as the man translates for her. However, it is unbeknownst to Alicia and Chris that the hunter is actually deceiving them, since he does not translate everything Alicia says. Soon, Alicia has nothing but underwear on and stops asking for help. She tells the hunter that he can go away now, and we see him picking up his belongings and leaving. As he is walking away, his radio goes off again and the hunter decides to take advantage of the situation once again. He approaches Alicia and asks her if she wants to know what was just spoken. Naturally, he tells her that she will have to remove an item of clothing to find out. Already fed up, Chris starts cursing at the man. The hunter points his gun in his direction and tells him to watch his mouth. All of a sudden, Alicia sees a window of opportunity and makes a run for it. The hunter reacts by releasing his dog and he starts chasing her down the mountain. The man picks up a rope and quickly follows them. Next, we see Chris bending down slowly and picking up the safety cable. He proceeds to tie it around his belt and manages to pick up the hunter's gun with it. We then see the hunter returning with Alicia under his arm. When he sees Chris with the weapon, he becomes aggressive and warns Chris to put it down. Chris freezes and is unable to act. We then see the hunter take Alicia to an area behind the trees. Chris raises the gun and just as he is about to shoot, the hunter's dog comes charging towards him and knocks him over. The gun goes off and unfortunately, instead of getting the hunter, it hits Alicia. To their amazement, the mine does not go off when Chris is knocked down. When Chris finally wakes up, he finds that the hunter has left with his dog. Sadly, he finds Alicia lying in a ditch and holds her body. Chris cries unconsolably after losing her. A few weeks later, we see Chris arriving at a house where he asks the woman there for assistance. The woman kindly lets him in to give him the information he needs. All of a sudden, we see the hunter about to come in the very same house. It is revealed that that's the hunter's house. When he gets inside, he cannot believe his eyes and goes into shock. He comes up with an excuse and gets Chris out of the house. Outside, he warns Chris to stay away from him and his family. He then proceeds to release his dog and it chases after Chris. Soon after, the hunter hears some noises and rushes out to see what's going on. He finds blood all over the ground and becomes worried. Back inside the house, we see Chris carrying the dog, where he explains that it was hit by a passing car. When the hunter gets there, he quickly picks up his gun and points it at Chris. However, Chris had already smartly anticipated his move, removing the bullets from his gun. Armed with a pistol, Chris shoots the hunter in the leg. He then tells the mother and daughter to take the man inside. It becomes obvious that Chris had gone there seeking vengeance for what the hunter had done to Alicia. We then see Chris ordering the man's daughter to tie up her mother. That's when the hunter breaks down and begs Chris to stop. He tells him that he was drunk and not in his right mind when he did all those things to Alicia. Chris then takes a bottle of wine and smells it. He forces the mother and daughter to drink some of it and then spills wine all over the man's lap. Possessed with feelings of revenge, he makes the daughter remove her scarf and crawl on the floor to pick it up, just like the hunter had done to Alicia. He then puts the scarf in the hunter's mouth and plays mind games with the whole family. The mother and daughter are clearly scared for their lives, but at this point, Chris does not care anymore. He then puts a bullet into the gun and tells the man's daughter to remove an item of clothing every time the gun is fired and no bullet comes out. The hunter falls to the floor and begs for forgiveness, but Chris is just getting started. When Chris fires the gun for the third time, it goes off and puts an end to the daughter's life. He then slumps to the floor in shock by what he has done. Chris just sits there, looking at the dead body curled up in the corner. He finally gets the revenge he was seeking and the movie ends.
Thanks for watching. If you like our content, please like the video and don't forget to subscribe.